The 7th, Australia will go to the polls, and Australians will have the choice between the compassion offered by the Greens or the cruelty of the old parties. They'll have the choice between protecting, looking after our environment and strong action on climate change, or the old parties, within the case of Tony Abbott, climate denial, and the case of Kevin Rudd, constant backflipping. In terms of the transition to the clean economy, the choice is between the Greens, who want to support education from early childhood through schools and universities, to the old parties who want to slash university funding. The Greens want a caring Australia. That means raising the money so that we can increase New Start, so that we can support single parents, so that we can make sure that we live in the caring and compassionate society that people like to think of as Australia, rather than the growing gap between the rich and the poor, the cowardice in standing up to the old vested interests and seeing the future compromised as the old parties push out more coal mining, more fast-track coal seam gas. This is the election at which people can choose to protect the Tarkine and vote for the Greens or not. They can choose to protect the Leadbeater possum. They can choose to look after the Great Barrier Reef. They can choose to care for people and the environment. That's what the Greens are offering at this election. I don't think the Australian people want the option of cruelty, but that's all that's on offer from the old political parties. The Greens can be trusted to stand up. We have driven action on climate change. Mr Rudd doesn't want to acknowledge it, but we already have a clean energy package in Australia. We have an emissions trading scheme. We have a commitment for $10 billion into renewable energy, and the Greens will continue to campaign for a much higher renewable energy target, 90% by 2030. We're out there strongly in the community saying this is an election about the future, the new direction, leaving behind the old fossil fuel past and moving to the renewable energy future. But it's also saying Australia has a proud place in the world. We're taking on the presidency of the G20. We are stepping up onto the Security Council. And as such, the Greens stand for upholding international law and doing our bit in what is a global refugee crisis. It's time that we treated refugees in a compassionate way. It's time that we supported the poorest in our own community and dealt with issues such as homelessness and poverty. And that's what the Greens want to do, because we live in a society, not an economy. We want a society where people are cared for and where the environment is also protected. In terms of our seats, the Greens are confident at this election that we will stand up for what matters and offer strong representation in the Senate. And we are needed there more than ever to stand up to the excesses of Tony Abbott and to stop Labor from backflipping on commitments. The Greens will be campaigning hard to hold all our seats. Senator Scott Ludlam in Western Australia, Sarah Hanson-Young in South Australia, and Peter Whish-Wilson in Tasmania, and of course in the House of Representatives, Adam Bandt in the seat of Melbourne. We've got a fantastic team of candidates. We will contest every seat in the country, and I look forward to a strong and vigorous campaign, because the Greens have got the runs on the board. We can be trusted to stand up for what matters.